Hi class, today we're going to be talking about solving equations. So we'll start with our standardized test practice problem. We want to know which equation illustrates the additive identity property. Remember that the additive identity property gives you the same thing on both sides of the equation once you simplify. So if you can just look at the additive identity, there's two identities here, A and B. B is the multiplicative identity. So our answer is going to be A because 5 plus 0 is also 5. We're going to start with talking about what different words and expressions mean mathematically. This will help us to get ready to write word problems. So when you see the words and, plus, some, increased by, more than, the operation is addition. Minus, difference, decreased by, and less than, the operation is subtraction. When we see times, product of, as in saying the half of a number, that's multiplication. And when we see divided by or quotient, that obviously means division. So we're going to start off our examples today by using the operations to write an algebraic expression from each of these verbal expressions. So I start off with 4 times the sum of a number and 3. So think of it as this way. If you'll group this part together, that's one chunk. The sum of a number and 3, and we're taking 4 times that. So we will write that as 4 parenthesis n representing a number plus 3. For number 2, 7 less than 15 times a number, you might want to write 7 minus 15n, but we're taking away 7 from 15n. So number 2 is actually 15n minus 7. And for number 3, the difference again means subtraction, of 9 times a number and the quotient of 6 and the same number. Here's a big chunk, the quotient of 6 and the same number. So we've got the difference of 9 times a number, so we'll have 9n. We're taking the difference of that and the quotient of 6 and the same number. So 9n minus 6 over n. Okay, a couple more of these. The product of 3 and the sum of 11 and a number. The product of 3 and the sum of 11 and a number. So 3, 11, and a number we're adding together. So we're taking 3 times the sum of 11 and a number. 23 more than the product of 7 and a number. So we have 7 times a number, and we're adding to that, we're making more than 23. 7n plus 23. Okay, on number 6, the next examples, we're going to write the sentence, the verbal sentence that represents the equation. So we have 3n minus 35 equals 79. I'm going to just say 35 less than 3 times a number is, that represents equals 79. 35 less than means I'm taking away 35 from 3 times a number, and that is 79. Okay, to fill in the blanks on the next part, to simplify equations, we can use the properties of equality. So what the properties are for addition and subtraction, basically whatever you add, if you add the same thing to both sides, the equation will still be equal. Or if you take away the same thing from both sides, the equation will still be equal. Same thing with multiplication. When you multiply both sides by the same thing, the equation is still equal. Or when you divide both sides by the same thing, the equation will still be equal. So to solve these, and I've got the steps written, what we're going to do. We've got our original equation, 10 minus 8x equals 50. And we're going to start by subtracting 10 from both sides so that we can get the variable, the x, on a side by itself. So I'm going to take away 10 from 10 and from 50. And I'll be left with negative 8x equals 40. So to undo a multiplication problem, we divide. We're going to divide both sides by negative 8. Divide by negative 8. X will equal negative 5. Okay, on B, we are solving 4x plus 5y equals 100, and we're solving it for y. So we want to start by subtracting 4x from each side. Then we simplify. Okay, then we're going to divide both sides by 5. So everything gets divided by 5. And we will have y equals 20 minus 4/5 x. So when you divide, if there's multiple things on one side, everything, just remember, everything gets divided. Okay, on the last two, we are going to solve for a specified variable. So in this first problem, we're going to solve for f. You can see that it's up in the numerator here. And one little trick if you want to get rid of a fraction, and because both sides aren't fractions, is to make the right side a fraction. Put a 1 underneath the 6, and then we're going to cross multiply. So you're taking 1 times 2d plus f, which would still be 2d plus f, and then we're taking 4 times 6, which is 24. And we're solving for f, so we're going to subtract 2d from both sides. F will be equal to 24 minus 2d. And on our last problem, we've got E equals 1/2 IW squared plus U, and we're solving it for I. The first thing we want to do is to get this term all by itself. So we're going to take away a U from both sides. So we'll have E minus U equals 1/2 IW squared. So now, because we've got a fraction on this side, but we don't over here, we can multiply the left side by 2. So that would mean everything by 2. And I'll just set that up for us. So 2 times E minus U equals IW squared. And I'll just say, since we're just dealing with letters and we really can't do a whole lot of simplifying, I think we can just leave this step alone without distributing through, and then just go to our next step. So we have I times W squared. So if I want to get I by itself, I'm dividing both sides by W squared. So I equals 2 times E minus U, all divided by W squared. And that's our lesson on simplifying equations. Don't forget to do the what did you learn, and remember that these are worth 5 points of the daily grade, not 15. Okay, I hope this went well for y'all, and I hope you have a great day. See you next time.